right there. My heart was beating so loud at that point, you could almost hear it. Could you almost hear it? Yeah, right? It was super loud. So at that point, the girl that is walking along with me, her only job was to make sure that I'm doing all right. So when she looks at me and smiles at me like, Michelle, let's do this. And I don't smile back because I don't want to do this. I'm regretting my decision to be here in the first place. I just want to go back home. She grasps my shoulders and she's like, sweetie, this will be awesome. I promise. Think about it. What's the worst that could happen? Are you serious? Raise your hand if you've ever asked yourself or someone else this question before, right? Yes, be honest. Worst question ever. I now had like 1,000 negative thoughts in my head that were not there before. Because I was like, she's right, what's the worst that could happen? And then I'm like, wait, what if I freeze? What if I forget my speech? What if I disappoint my family who's in the audience, who traveled just for this event? What if I embarrass myself? And the worst one, what if I fail? That's when it hit me. How am I supposed to gather the courage that I need if I'm only considering the worst case scenarios? It was only when I decided to flip the question around and I asked myself, Michelle, what's the best that can happen? That's when I started to see the possibilities that were hiding behind my fears, and I thought, what if I do a good job? What if I enjoy it? What if I make my family proud or myself proud? What if I actually inspire people in the audience to take action? Suddenly, I felt no more fear, only excitement. And that's when the presenter said, give it up for Michelle Poler. And that day, I got my first standing ovation, and the rest is history. Thank you. So when I first started this project, I thought that the end goal was to eliminate fear, get rid of it. But along the process, what I realized is that fear is our ally, and it's there to keep us safe and alive, so we don't want to eliminate fear. But the more we open ourselves to the unknown, the more we allow growth to jump in. And the most important thing here is to make sure that we can keep fear in its place and not let it hold us back from making all of those growth decisions. Because to me, the 100-day project was only the beginning. But now, instead of perceiving every fear as an obstacle, I choose to see it as an opportunity that can lead us to uncover our next big thing, and that is the best that can happen. Our job in this lifetime is not to shape ourselves into some ideal we imagine we ought to be, but to find out who we already are and become it. So what I realized is that while I was comparing myself to Carla and other speakers out there, I couldn't find my place, and I thought there was no place for me in this industry. It was only when I decided to contrast instead of compare that I was able to not find my place, but to create my place. You know what? Because when we compare, we are all the time looking what everybody else is doing, right? But when we contrast, we get to see what they're missing. When we compare, we're looking outside. And only when we contrast, we get to look inside. And at the end of the day, when we compare, we become one more. But when we contrast, we become one of a kind. So what makes you different, right? What makes you stand out? I mean, is it your background, your story, your sense of humor, your sense of style, your values, your hidden talent? Because, you know, what we realize is that when we compare, we become victims or prisoners of our own insecurities. And it is only when we contrast that we set our authentic selves free. Which takes me to the last set of fears, the personal fears, that are closely related to our self-esteem need. In order to feel good about ourselves, we limit our growth. We hold ourselves back from taking risks, from trying new things or venturing into the unknown, because we know failing is a possibility, one that we don't want to be held accountable for. But after embracing this new lifestyle where daring is now my first choice, what I learned is that the enemy of success is not failure. It's actually comfort. Comfort is what keeps us from innovating. It convinces us to continue doing things the same way we've always done them instead of adapting to a new reality. Comfort begs us to look down at our phones instead of sparking a conversation with the person sitting right next to us. And it tells us things like, good things come to those who wait. But as Da Vinci put it, people of accomplishment rarely sat back and let things happen to them. They went out and happened to things. That's what I want you to do after this conference. I want you to start writing your own boxes. What are the things that you want to accomplish for yourself? And the real question here is, what would you get uncomfortable for? What are those things you care so much about, you're willing to get uncomfortable to make them happen? And now, to finish this off in the best way possible, we're going to do the same thing we did at the beginning, but now you guys will join me, okay? Because that was a little bit unfair and uncomfortable. So I need all of you to stand up right now here, and wherever you're watching this, yes, let's go, let's do it. Are you ready? You need to dance like no one's watching, okay? 1, 2,